Hello and welcome. Today I'll show you how to use the queen to its fullest potential. Special thanks to They Live for this video idea, and if you have any video ideas, something you would like to see explained in an easy to understand and logical fashion, feel free to drop it down in the comments below. The first thing you must understand is that the queen is the best piece in chess, but only because of its great mobility. So you have to know how to utilize this great mobility in order to reach the queen's fullest potential. One thing that the queen is great at is catching undefended pieces off guard. Because of its great mobility, it's able to hit multiple pieces at the same time. For example, queen d4 here hits both of the rooks and the knight, and queen c3 hits both of the rooks and the king. This is even stronger. How is this mobility exploited in real games? Many players see the queen as a piece that can threaten a lot of stuff, but the key is to threaten multiple things at the same time, as we just saw, especially if pieces are undefended or you see another weakness in the position. Here, white to move, and you might be tempted to, first of all, just move the bishop away, but the advanced players will see that the queen g4 move is actually pinning the pawn. The really advanced players will see that queen g3 actually not only pins the pawn and threatens mate, but also hits the undefended rook on b8. This is the key. So the more threats you make, the less chances your opponent has to defend all of those threats because they only have one move to do so. Except double attacks and forks and exploiting undefended pieces, the queen is good at one more thing, which is to work together with other pieces. This is how to optimally use your queen. So not just exploiting undefended pieces, but also working together with your other pieces. So the queen is like an amplifier. It makes any attack much stronger. So we're going to see examples of the queen working together with the bishop, with the knight, with the rook. But this is what the queen wants. So as opposed to, for example, the rook, who wants to go to an open file, or the knight, who wants to go to an outpost square, the queen doesn't have this optimal position on the board itself. It just wants to work together with other pieces anywhere. Doesn't matter. So here we have a queen-bishop battery. A battery is just two pieces working together on the same diagonal or file. It could be a queen and rook battery on the open file, for example. And why is this very strong? Because now, if this knight weren't here, queen takes pawn on h7 would be a checkmate. So what can we do? We could push the pawn to g5 and threaten this knight and say, hey, if you move this knight, now queen to h7 would be a checkmate. In other words, black mustn't move the knight. They have to, let's say, play g6 or something to block up this, but now we just take a piece. And now we're just up a piece as white. This would be an example of a queen and bishop battery, but let me show you a queen and rook battery. So in this position, we are playing white, and an attack is brewing on the king side here. We have many attackers. But what can we actually do? Here, what we can do is, you may be thinking queen h3 just to back up the queen and the rook together, but the thing is that now they play h6. And our bishop suddenly is a little bit empty, our knight doesn't really cover the right squares, it seems like we have no concrete way to continue. So for that reason, white has a bit of a more aggressive choice, which is bishop takes h7, check, knight has to pretty much take, and now queen h3. The key difference is that this is a knight, not a pawn anymore, so they can't go to h6, and if they move the knight, then we have queen h8, checkmate. And if they don't, then we just take the knight itself. There's nothing that can defend that knight. So this is going to be checkmate in one or two moves. So for that reason, we have to first take and then make the battery. Sometimes your idea will require some preparation. Sometimes it works immediately. That's dependent on the position. But just to showcase this queen and rook battery working together on the H file. This was an example of a queen and rook battery, but also a queen and a knight can also work very well together. Let's examine how. Now, because of the knight's weird movement, there's no such thing as a battery here, but they can still work very well together, and there's a lot of queen and knight patterns. So let's see what happened here. Knight h4, a game was played. a5, knight f5, a4, and here white played the move queen g4. And now black realized that they were in trouble because the threat is queen g7 checkmate here. And also the threat is the discovered attack on the undefended queen, knight h6 check. And then let's say king h8, and then queen takes queen. And there's no move for black that protects both. So checkmate immediately is the bigger problem. So let's say they play g6, but then we take the queen, knight h6 check, king, let's say to g7, and we take the queen. Another great example of the queen and knight working together is the smothered checkmate pattern. So let's see how this works. Basically, it starts with a queen somewhere on this diagonal, doesn't really matter where, and the knight, wherever it moves, it will be checked from the queen. That's pretty much all that should be here. And now the way you do a smothered checkmate is by going knight h6 check. This is a double check, so the king must move. There's no capturing the knight because it's checked from the queen. And if the king goes to the left, then we have just the normal queen f7 checkmate. But the key to the smothered mate is if the king goes to the corner. This is where the reason lies why we play knight h6 instead of another knight check, because we need the move queen g8. This is a brilliant move. The point is that it's defended by the knight, so the rook has to take. Otherwise, the king could take and just escape, but the rook has to take this time. And then knight f7 is a checkmate. So this is the smothered mate pattern. Let's see it one more time. So knight h6 double check, king to h8, and then a queen sacrifice, queen g8. Is defended by the king, so the rook must take, and then knight f7, checkmate. Very, very cool. Now, before we move on to things that you shouldn't do with the queen, I want to leave you with one last example of the queen working together with something else that could also be a pawn. Not necessarily rooks, knights, and bishops, but here the best move is queen to g5 working together with the pawn to make a checkmate threat. And this is another typical pattern you have to at least see once to see again in a real game. The pawn must move to g6 to try and delay the checkmate, but we simply go around the pawn like this, queen h6, and queen g7 is a pre-move checkmate. The typical defense to watch out for is queen f8, but here it's not possible because of their own rook, and the game is over. When it comes to things that you shouldn't do with the queen, there's really only two of them, and they are very logical once you hear about them and understand them. So the first one is to not bring it out too early in the game. If you bring your queen out all the way in the opening stage of the game, chances are that you will run into trouble because the queen is the strongest piece, but it's also the most valuable piece for that same reason. So anytime it gets attacked by a knight or a bishop or anything else, it has to move out of the way because trading a queen for anything else is, of course, bad. So for that reason, for example, let's say e4, d5, the Scandinavian defense, it's a popular opening, but it does involve getting the queen out in a lot of variations. And if somebody plays the Scandinavian as black and doesn't know why they're doing it, it's very dangerous. Because let's say knight c3 is played, this highlights the thing that I've said earlier. Whenever it gets attacked, it has to move. Because if you just defend it, of course, that's a great trade for white. So for that reason, you're going to keep moving it a lot. And if you don't go all the way back or all the way to the side, you're going to run into a lot of trouble. For example, some players just go randomly with the queen somewhere, and that allows their opponent to just get all of their pieces out while attacking this queen. So let's say knight f3, and then the queen again goes here, and then pawn to d4, discovered attack, and then the queen goes here, and then bishop g5 development, here, bishop d3. So white is just getting all of their pieces out, while black is just going left and right with the queen, not really achieving anything with their position. And chances are that one of these random moves will be onto an unfortunate square, where they might get pinned like this and just lose the game instantly. So remember, do not play early with your queen. Do not get your queen out in the opening unless you precisely know why you're doing it. And the second thing to watch out for is also about early queen moves, but it's a little bit different. Be careful about pawn grabbing in the opening. So these queen takes b2 or queen takes b7 if you're playing white are often free pawns, but sometimes they can be poisoned pawns, which essentially means that you lose the queen or other material as a result of taking this seemingly free pawn. So here we're playing as white, so we're on the receiving end of such a pawn grab, and it's up to you to punish this move. So after queen takes b2, this is going to be a small puzzle for you. A white to move and trap the queen. Pause the video if you need time. I'm going to spoil the solution in 3, 2, 1. Now, it might seem like rook b1 attacks it, bishop c3 attacks, so you have many ways to attack it. But the only thing that traps it is rook to b3, because that's the only thing that keeps everything defended. Rook b1 is unfortunately undefended. Usually, this rook is back on e1, so this is the typical move, sort of. So that's why it falls into many players' minds. But bishop c3 is also failing because of hanging the c1 rook, so rook to b3 is the only thing that traps the black queen here. And since we're on this position, I may as well mention the sort of technique that's helpful for beginner players in order to trap a queen. So if you feel like you might be able to trap the queen because it's very deep in your position, surrounded by your pieces, chances are you are able to, but the move to do it is kind of maybe hard to notice, or it's in multiple moves. So there's a bit of a helping hand when it comes to trapping the enemy queen. And the technique goes like this. You basically pretend that it's black to move and that they have to make a move with the queen. And where could they go? So you can highlight all of their legal moves to begin with if this is difficult, because it's a little bit overwhelming, a lot of squares to look at. And then you can press Control on your keyboard and then highlight again to make it like red. So you make red the ones that you're protecting. So all of this is protected. Then the queen is protecting these two. Then the rook is protecting these two. The rook is protected by the bishop. This pawn is protected by the knight. The queen is covering this and this. So you're left with only b6. Nothing is protecting b6. So you could delete everything and just highlight b6 again. And then you highlight the queen's current square as well. And now you have a nice visual of the squares that you need to protect in order to trap the queen. So essentially, you have a bit of a visual template in your mind of, oh, okay, like a knight on a4 could work, or c4, if I have. So oftentimes, knight from c3 to a4 will be a trapping of the queen when they take on b2, or a rook on b1, or a rook on b3. So anything that covers d squared. Sometimes, rarely, it's going to be like bishop d4. That could also be a thing. So once you have those squares visually like this, then your mind can like help you to find the pieces that cover both those squares immediately. If you can't do it in a single move, chances are that you just have to cover the retreat square. So let's say bishop a5 or something, or pawn to a5 is also quite a common thing, from a4 to a5. And then next move, you can trap the queen. So if you can't do it in a single move, it doesn't mean that you cannot do it at all. Maybe it just takes an additional move. Before recapping everything for you, I want to show you this position as a small puzzle as well. So it's white to move right now, and I wonder how you would continue in this endgame. Objectively, it's a winning endgame, but there's an easy solution, and if you don't find it, it's going to be very difficult to win. So drop your best solution down in the comments below. To recap everything we said in this video, when it comes to using your queen optically, there's two things to remember. Number one is to highlight enemy undefended pieces and keep a special eye out for those, because the queen is great at attacking multiple things at the same time. And the second thing, if you can't exploit undefended pieces immediately, is to work together with your other pieces. So to make batteries like queen and bishop, as we saw here, queen and rook, as we saw here, or queen and knight, which is not exactly a battery, but still they work together with many, many different patterns. So work together with other pieces, because the queen is like an amplifier of the attack. Those are the two things that you should do, and there are two things that you shouldn't do. So the first one of those is to not bring your queen out too early in the game, because the opening is dominated by minor pieces and pawns for the most part, which are not as valuable as the queen. So if you bring your queen out too early and you're not sure why you're doing it, you might get overwhelmed by all the minor pieces. And the second thing you shouldn't do is early on go pawn grabbing like this, because you're going to end up in the middle of the enemy's army, so to speak. So chances are you will get trapped. Hopefully all of that made sense. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to drop them down below. I read every single comment, and I'm going to use this opportunity to remind you that I'm still accepting students in my personalized coaching program. So feel free to reach out to me and we will talk. Thank you very much for watching. Have an awesome week, and I'll talk to you very soon. Take it easy.